Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Reet, and today I'm excited to share a great conversation with Ryan Van Duzer. If you've ever been curious about what it's like to travel the world by bike or take on big adventures, you're going to love this episode. Ryan is a content creator and author and has helped design some really quality bicycles, even with Priority Bicycles. A quick note before we get started, my audio quality isn't quite what it usually is. We had a snowstorm that rolled through the San Juan Mountains here in Durango, so I had to jump on this call from my phone instead of my laptop. But despite the weather, we had an awesome chat. In this episode, Ryan dives into the beauty of human powered adventures and how slowing down can help you connect more with nature, your community, and even yourself. He shares stories from his bikepacking journeys and what drives him to stay active, and some valuable advice for anyone looking to start their own adventure, regardless how big or small it is. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Ryan Van Duzer. Enjoy. So you're in Boulder today, hanging out, planning your next adventure. What's next for you?
I just ran 100 miles 2 days ago, so I am just chilling out. My body is
Wow.
sore.
Which one?
The Javelina 100 out in Arizona, it was record temperatures, 100 degrees. And yeah, it was spicy, man, but it was a great race. I had a good time.
Yeah. What was your goal time? Do you even run for a goal time? Or I imagine you run more for fun than
Yeah, I kind of exceeded what I thought I could do. I ran under 20 hours, which is my fastest 100-mile race ever. I've done 6 of them now. I ran 19 hours, 53 minutes. Yeah.
That's so incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it feels good. Even though my body feels horrible, it feels good to have done it.
Yeah. I constantly toying with the idea of 100. I know I want to do one, just don't know when.
Yeah.
The other part of that is like, well, if I'm going to do it, why keep waiting? So maybe next year.
Yeah, man. Just give it a shot. It's quite an experience. It's a journey. It's a mental and physical journey. I always feel like I'm a better human after having finished 100 because you have 20 plus hours to really dig deep and figure some things out about life and your goals and dreams and all that stuff.
Yeah, you've been doing that since you were a kid. And I really want to tap into that. I am absolutely loving your book, by the way. This is a huge plug for everybody to open up this book because I'm absolutely loving it. Everybody that's read it, my friends, my wife, Julie, they can't put it down. And I'm saving the rest of it for my flight to India for the rest of the week. But halfway through and loving every bit of it, I feel like I'm on the adventure with you. And right now we're in the middle of a hurricane.
Oh yeah, that's some good stuff right there. And thank you for the kind words. Yeah, that book was a labor of love, and I'm really proud of it. And that book is about essentially the first adventure, big adventure in my life that led to what I do now.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, I mean, you do so many things, and that was the hardest thing. I have a hard time even having a wrap around our conversation. Bike
Mm,
pack. You're a creator.
uh,
You run. Running is your main activity, and I think a lot
Yeah,
of people don't even know that through your content.
yeah.
Uh, but I think out of all that, the biggest thing that inspires me, the reason I love seeing your content and love following you, is your mission. Really, get people off the couch and get people
Mhm.
moving. Like, why is that so important to you? How did you figure out that that's what you want to do through your content? And tell us more about why you're passionate about that.
Yeah. So I got a degree in broadcast journalism from CU, University of Colorado. And that essentially teaches you how to be like a local news anchor, which is cool and fun. I did an internship in Denver and I realized quickly that I didn't really like local news. Local news is a lot of times sad and depressing. There's a saying, if it bleeds, it leads. So it just makes you bummed out about the world. And I wanted to create happy news, inspirational news. So after I graduated with that degree, I decided to join the Peace Corps in Honduras and work with kids. I had done some other service work with kids at orphanages around Latin America, and I really wanted to dig in for 2 years and become part of a community in Honduras. And it was an amazing experience. And the whole get out there idea just came from I love getting out there. I feel so good when I'm out there because I'm more connected to myself, I'm more connected to nature, and I'm more connected to the people around me. And so those three elements are really the driving force for the get out there mentality. And it doesn't have to be a huge adventure or 100-mile race. It can just be walking around the block or spending a little bit more time outside or riding your bike to the grocery store or to work. Because when you're human powered, when you're walking or riding your bike, you have the ability to stop and say hi to your neighbor. But if you're in your car, you can't really stop and say hi. You're listening to a podcast, you're distracted by music, you kind of wave and leave. But if you're on a bike, you can be like, hey, what's up? And you stop and chat with them. And then you ride another mile and you see another friend on the street and you start chatting with them. And it just makes me feel more connected to my town, my community of Boulder. And that goes for wherever I travel. I feel more connected. You know, I've traveled all over the world on these bike adventures. And my favorite aspect of traveling is connecting with all the wonderful people around the world.
Yeah, I think the pace of travel really does allow you to experience things differently and adds more spontaneousness and ability to just pull over, see what's going on, really take in what is happening in your neighborhood, what is happening in your community, even become more aware great things, challenges, issues, whatever that might be. I think that spontaneousness, ability to say hello and meet new people, make new friends, see your distant friends, you're absolutely right. I love that pace of travel. And you are an inspiration because you've never owned a car. And I wanted to talk to you about today, like, what does that look like? If maybe all of us listening don't end up not owning a car, giving up our cars, but maybe riding our bikes more.
Mhm.
What are some of the ways that you hacked your life or created your life non-owning a car? And what are the challenges you run into? Like you live in Boulder through the winter. What does that look like? Like
Mhm.
how have you maintained not owning a car?
Yeah, so it's all I know. I've never had a car, so it's not like, oh, darn it, I don't have my car anymore. So it's all I know. So I've created this life around, bicycle travel or even taking the bus. So for me, it's just as easy for me to live on a bike as it is for somebody who's used to a car every day. And I decided when I was at a very young age, I was watching PBS and there was a special about Earth Day. And it was my first time learning about Earth Day and what it all meant. And you learn about pollution and air pollution. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, cars are bad and cars spew out pollution. So I'm going to do my part and never have a car, which sounds kind of silly, but I've stuck to it. When I turned 16 and all my friends got cars here in Boulder, they're all driving to school, passing me while I'm on my bike. I was happy as could be riding my bike. And I think it's something that's not as hard as it seems. People are like, oh, how do you live without a car? Well, you know, I have a bike with a rack and I have bags on my bike and I can go to the grocery store and I can fill up with as much food as I need. And another benefit of riding your bike to the grocery store is you don't buy too much food. You buy just as much as can fit in your bags, and that's usually just enough. So there's less waste in that way. And Boulder it can be cold, but you bundle up, you learn how to layer for the winter. And there are some days, yeah, we have 2 feet of snow and it's too hard to ride a bike, and then I'll take the bus, or I just won't leave the house that day.
Yeah, I think that's in a way, it's your default. For those of us that are maybe looking to change it, it's how can we replace those shorter trips? Start there,
Mhm.
replace those trips where you can ride a bike. And what I love about commuting using the bike is that it's your exercise too. So you don't have to then think about like, oh, I should go work out and I have more things to do. So if you can do a long bike ride, I did this in Boulder when I was at the race summit actually. I stayed
Yeah.
at the A Lodge and every day I was commuting in using my bike, right? It was like a 10-mile round trip bike ride. And I was like, this is great. So if I don't get a workout today, I don't get uh, moving because of a workout or exercise, I still move my body. I still get a bike ride in. That puts me in a much better state, in a better mood than feeling like I have to go to the gym or get a run in. I love that concept of commuting.
Totally. And there's been a lot of studies that say that people who commute by bike, and we're not talking like people who ride their bike 50 or 60 miles a day, just straight up commuting, maybe 10 to 15 miles, they have fewer heart problems. They're healthier. They're mentally healthier because you're outside, you're breathing fresh air, you're seeing the beautiful sunrise on your way to work, you're seeing the trees change colors. You know, maybe it's a little bit chilly, you feel the cold air on your face. It makes you feel alive.
Yeah, I really love that about you because you have the ability to face your fears in a way that maybe a lot of us let our fears get in the way of trying new things. And it's not like you're doing easy things and you're not genuinely taking on, like riding through a hurricane. We just talked about it when you were 25 years old.
Yeah.
And even now, I'm sure you're doing things that are challenging. How do you think of fear and not letting that keep you from doing the adventure that you want? You said in your book, you choose adventure over comfort any day. Like, how do you
Yeah.
continue to find that in your life and lead to fear?
So, I mean, I feel fear just like everybody. I'm a human. I go through all the range of emotions, but maybe I'm better at managing my fear. And I know the benefits of pushing through the fear because I know on the other side, I will have gained some confidence and there might be some other surprises that come my way through doing something hard and scary. And so I just know that the benefits are worth it. The benefits are worth the scary part because I do a lot of big adventures and ride my bike thousands of miles or whatever it is, or even run 100 miles. It is scary because you don't know what's going to happen and you know it might hurt physically and the weather might be horrible and you might be cold or whatever it is. We can come up with so many excuses for not doing something that a lot of times we don't do it. We live in a world that is so comfortable. We live in these comfortable houses. If it gets cold, we turn on the heat. If we get thirsty, we can flip the faucet and get filtered water. You know, I've lived around the world. I lived in Honduras where it's not like that. We're like the Western world, the United States, it's pretty cushy here. And so why would we want to like leave that and sleep under the stars in the cold and kind of shiver a little bit or wake up and your fingers are numb while you're packing your tent away? But I like those moments. And in the moment, yeah, it can be uncomfortable. There's no doubt. You watch my videos, I complain about the cold all the time. But I know that the sun is going to come up and it's going to warm me up and it's going to feel amazing.
Yeah. I think I've been trying to come to this awareness myself is if I intentionally choose hard things, life is easier.
Mhm.
And if I try to seek easy things, life is hard.
Yeah.
And I'm really appreciating that. And I'm finding that through a lot of your content and just other people that are doing hard things are typically able to deal with life's hard challenges, which
Yep.
are unavoidable, a little bit easier. So I think in a way, intentional engagement in some people might think crazy adventures. And I think that spectrum is different for everybody, right? Like for you, it's 100 miles now, or it
Mhm.
might be a 4,000 mile ride, but for somebody else, it might be 5 miles or, a quarter-mile walk. So whatever that hard is for you in that moment, I think it's important to intentionally force yourself to get after it.
Absolutely. And I think about that all the time because when you're going through something hard, you're choosing it. This is a voluntary thing, like on my adventures at least. But I know that in life, sometimes things get thrown your way that you don't choose. But because I've gone through so many difficult challenges on my adventures, I'm better capable of managing those hard things in life, like a breakup, heartbreak, not getting a job that you want, whatever it is, that, okay, I don't need to freak out right now. I need to just take it easy, just like if I was in an adventure, take a deep breath. I'm going to get through this. Like I will get through this. But if you're not conditioned for that, life's challenges can be a lot harder.
Yeah. Yeah. You have a ability to notice when things are going well,
Mm.
which is difficult for me. I'm starting to appreciate that more and more and really appreciate all the positive things. And I said this to my wife, Julie. I was like, Ryan Van Duzer has this ability to notice when tailwinds are happening. We can all notice the headwinds are there. I think I said this to you.
Yeah.
Um, how do you find that? How do you tap into that positivity when you really need to? I know you talked about it in a few videos, but like, do you have a sort of a mental process to catch yourself when things hard or negative or when bad things happen, like how do you keep yourself from going down that negative hole and stay positive?
Yeah, that's a great question. And luckily, I was born with a pretty jolly demeanor. So my baseline is pretty good. And I'm really fortunate for that because I know a lot of people struggle with mental illness and you don't really have a choice. Your biology is just different. But for me, complaining or being negative, and I've been there, I still can go there. We all can. It never helps the situation ever. Like, does whining help? No. Does complaining help? No. So I try to think, okay, even though the situation sucks and it's very uncomfortable or whatever's happening, I need to think about what is good in this situation. And there's always something good. It's not all bad or all good. And so maybe I've gone through something hard and it's been uncomfortable and I didn't sleep the night before and it's freezing cold, but then the sun peeks out and you're like, oh my God, that sun feels amazing. It's like the first time I'm ever feeling the warmth of the sun. And so I think when you just strip life down to like the simple things, like a nice warm day or laying down in the grass and seeing some beautiful clouds roll by and you're just feeling comfortable, you're like, oh, this feels so good. And it kind of goes back to like pushing yourself to do hard things because, on the other side of that is going to be something more comfortable and much more pleasurable.
Yeah, that's so well said. I think just there's always something good and bad happening in every moment. And it's choosing what you want to focus on. How do you manage being online as a content creator and actually unplugging? Like, how do you manage the life of getting outside, doing your adventures, running, biking, but not feeling like you have to be online, responding to everything or engaging with your audience because that's important, I'm sure, growing a community.
Yeah, there's a lot to say about this. And I still change my mindset all the time about how to best navigate this. And so for me, the number one priority is for me to go outside and have fun. That's the number one priority. Number two is documenting it, because it has to be documented. I need to tell the story. So there's sometimes I'm in the middle of an adventure and I'm tired. Maybe I'm 80 miles into a day or whatever. The last thing I want to do is take out my drone or take out my camera and set up the tripod because I just want to be done for the day. But I know if I don't get that shot, then it's going to be a lot harder to tell the story. And the story is what is my job. Like I need to create this content to, hopefully inspire people to get outside. So that's one aspect of it. In the moment during an adventure, I really try to balance my fun, but also being a storyteller. And there are some moments I just don't capture because I either just don't want to, and I want to just have it for me. And I just need a moment to chill with no cameras on or anything. And there are some times where I'm like, I have to force myself to get the cameras out and I have to talk to the camera. And for me, I feel like some of my best moments are when I'm completely raw and vulnerable and I'm talking to that camera and I'm struggling because everybody can relate to the struggle. Humanity, everything, we've all struggled through whatever it is. And I know this isn't exactly what you asked, but I will get there. But this kind of goes to like being in the moment on an adventure. When I'm at home and I'm editing and I'm like trying to produce this content, I really strive to respond to pretty much every comment I get because I really want people to know that I'm a real person and I want to help them on their own journeys. And so I get a lot of questions about gear or fear, even like, oh, I want to do this, but I'm so scared about camping. I'm scared about bears in the backcountry or whatever it is. And so I really take a ton of time to respond to everything on Instagram and YouTube. And, of course, it's my job. So I pay attention to the analytics and the numbers and all that stuff. And it can bum me out if a video that I put a lot of heart and soul into is not doing well. But I can't control that. All I can do is create a video that I'm proud of and I put it out into the world. And from that point on, it's not mine anymore. I just have to like put it out there and be cool with whatever happens. And some videos do great and some don't do great. And then I just keep moving forward and keep creating the content that I truly believe in. So as far as a balance of being on my phone or being on the computer and being outside, as I said, number one is to get outside and have fun. Number two, I need to realize that this is my job and I need to connect with people. And I want them to know that I'm a real human. So it's a game, it's a game of my own mental health, but also helping other people on their journeys.
Yeah, I think you have it sort of figured out because you have a priority. and
Yeah.
getting outside. And I think
Mhm.
once you take care of that, maybe other things fall into place because you're not, it seems like you have your priority in the right way. You're not like, I'm not going to respond to all these comments and do all that. And then I'll find time to get outside. So
Mhm.
I think having that priority maybe is the way. And thank you because that was a question for me. We're trying to crack that for myself. So how do I prioritize? I think it is getting outside and doing the work first. And then for us, it is our job too to document the story of different adventures in different places. So thank you. I'll take that and
Yeah.
try to implement that in my life as well.
Totally. There might be days where I'm inside for 8 straight hours editing, staring at my computer, just totally transfixed with what I'm doing. And then I'm like, okay, I need to get out of here. And I'll go outside and run or bike, and it completely resets me. And a lot of my best ideas happen when I'm out on a run or a bike ride. I don't run with ear pods or whatever they're called or music podcasts. When I'm out running or biking, there's nothing in my ears. I want to be totally present with the sounds of nature and whatever's happening. And that allows me to think about, oh, how can I tell this story in a better way? And then I come home from these adventures, or I'm on my little bike ride, and I go straight to my computer and change things up. I'm like, oh, this is so great. I'm glad I went for that run.
Yeah, absolutely. Same here. So does that apply to your big distance runs or just training stuff? You're always
It
into the
does.
bike.
It does apply to my big distance, like 100 milers. I figure out a lot of life when I'm out there. Because you
Yeah.
really the highs and the lows of a 100-mile race are pretty extreme. They go from, why am I out here? This hurts so bad. I want to be done, to 10 miles later. This is the best feeling ever. I'm so glad I'm here. This is the most beautiful sunset I've ever seen. And you're just so grateful for being alive and your body's feeling good. And you go up and down for 20 plus hours. And you have time to think and about, oh, when I get home, I want to be nicer to my mom. Maybe I snapped at her last week and that wasn't very nice of me. So when I get home, I'm going to make sure that I'm kinder, And so you think about those little things in life. And so I really feel like when I come home from a big adventure or a big race, that I'm more patient, more compassionate, and more connected to my family and my community.
Yeah, that's amazing. And do you have a a process of documenting some of these things? I know you in your book you talked about journaling a lot. Is that something you continue to do now? Is
I don't journal so much in the written form. I do a lot of voice notes on my phone. If I think of
okay.
something in the moment, I'll record my voice talking it out. And then I'll use those, when I need to be reminded of what I was thinking, like, oh, that's great. And then I'll incorporate that into whatever I'm doing.
Need more immediacy. This
Yeah.
recorded.
Yeah.
Still a journal.
Yeah,
Awesome.
totally.
So I want to dive into bike packing a little bit. I'm super stoked to take this on as a light uh, activity in my life because I love doing mountain bike rides, big rides, but I'm usually always coming back at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
thanks to your checklist or your website, I'm ordering some bike packs and you live right up the Colorado Trail. So I'm interested in just adding more and more. And where we live in Durango, we can access so many towns by taking dirt roads. I think we could access almost all of Colorado using dirt roads from here.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to get into it, but uh, I'm curious about if you can share some tips on how to get into bike packing. How do you
Mhm.
get over that initial resistance? So, yeah, I want to get started. How do I get started?
Yeah. I always tell people to start with a short trip because they watch my videos where I'm riding across the country or something. They're like, oh, I want to go do that. I'm like, well, just do a short one first to see how it all works. You want to test out your gear. You want to test out your body. You want to see what it's like to ride a bike that all of a sudden, maybe your bike is 25 pounds, but when you load it up with food and water and gear, now it's 75 pounds. And so it rides a lot different, especially when you're going uphill. So it's good just to test out your gear and test out the weight and just go out there for an overnighter, and then you get to experience like what it's like to ride hard and then set up camp and sleep under the stars. Cause a lot of times these people asking me questions about bike packing don't really even camp. And so camping is new to them as well. And so you just want to like learn what it's like to, okay, I need to find a spot that's flat because if it's not flat, I'm not going to sleep well. Maybe I want to find a spot that's near some water so I can have fresh water. And then you get to enjoy the beauty of like sitting under the stars, and you have the feeling of accomplishment of like, oh, I just rode my bike 50 miles today and it was fully loaded. And here I am in the middle of the forest and it's so beautiful. And maybe I'm alone, or maybe you're with friends and you get to share that with people. You share it with yourself and you go to sleep knowing, hey, I just did something pretty big. And you wake up and you do it again. So it's 2 days, one night. And I guarantee everybody who's ever written me and said they've done this, they're like, no, this is all your fault. Like, now I'm hooked. I'm going to be doing this for life. So yeah, start small and focus on having fun, because that's really the goal. You don't want it to be a suffer fest. You don't want to be so uncomfortable that you're like, I am never doing this again. You want to keep it within reason. And
Yeah.
then later on, you might get excited and want to push yourself. But when you start, just go for the fun of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe even dial it back where it doesn't seem like much at all, right? Like we
Yeah.
could go stay in a state park if we have to, get all the,
Mhm.
what ifs out of the way and just get used to doing the bike ride and setting up the tent, even if it's in a controlled environment where it isn't as wild.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think real campsites are great because they have bathrooms, they have running water, sometimes they have showers. And so, but there's no right or wrong way to bike pack. You don't have to be Mr. Hardcore or Mrs. Hardcore and, carry all your stuff and camp in the middle of nowhere and just, yeah, you know what I'm saying?
yeah. No, I think it's such a cool way, man, to explore a country, place, your own city, because your story out of the book where you're meeting strangers and camping under a palapa in their front yard, or finding all these amazing places to camp. And what I love about bikepacking, again, we talked earlier about that pace of travel within your city, but they could also apply to travel and the way we think about tourism in general. So instead of having a totally pre-planned, I'm doing this day,
Mm.
this day, this is my time frame, like giving yourself the flexibility and having that space to be spontaneous. And I find that's another thread that really comes to me is not knowing what's next and
Mhm.
being present and being okay with that. How do you continue to live that way? The internal pressure, external pressures of having an answer of what's next. And how do you work through that and staying present and being okay not knowing what's next?
People ask me all the time after a big adventure, they're like, okay, that was cool. What's next? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Give me just a day to think about it or more. But my what's next, even like in an adventure, when I go bikepacking, I am not like super organized. Some people are, they know exactly how many miles they're going to go and they're going to go to this grocery store or whatever. I just kind of wake up and I go as far as I go and I stop when I stop. And, we'll see what happens. And to me, that's like the core of adventure. You truly don't know how your day is going to go. And that's fun. If you meet some amazing people, then you maybe stop and hang out with them. Maybe they invite you into their homes for lunch. Or maybe you ride next to a beautiful creek and there's all of a sudden there's a waterfall and you're like, I'm going to jump in the waterfall. And if you watch my videos, you see me all the time, like filming flowers, I see some amazing flowers. I'm like, I'm going to get off my bike and just check out these awesome flowers and to really be present in the moment. And then once you're sitting there, like filming some flowers or hanging out, you start listening to the wind blow through the pine needles or whatever it is. And you're just like, oh, wow, this is really cool. Because when you're on a bike, at least on dirt, the sound of the gravel crunching on your tires is really mesmerizing, but it's also kind of loud. So when you get off your bike and you stop, all of a sudden it is so quiet. And I love that feeling. So the idea of what's next is just kind of the philosophy of my life. I never know what's next. People always ask me, what are you going to do in 2025? I'm like, I have no idea, but I'll figure it out as I go. Like right now it's, late October. I'll do another adventure before the end of 2024, but I don't know what I'm going to do. I have some ideas and I'll put it together and whatever happens, happens. And that's how I like living life. But I know a lot of people want more certainty and that's fine, but this is how I do it. And I find that there's just a lot more spontaneous joy when you don't really know what's going to happen. For example, an adventure I did a couple of years ago in Southern California, I was riding through Slab City, which is a very interesting, like off-grid squatter village of interesting desert artists, kind of like Burning Man in a way. And I went through there at like 8 in the morning thinking I would just like stay for an hour and check out some of the art installations. But I met this really interesting guy, fascinating human, and I ended up spending the entire day with him. And I spent the night at his camp, and it was so cool.
Yeah, I love that. And what an interesting place. I am still yet to go there. We've been around the Salton Sea and our RV, but I haven't made it to Slab City. And I'm excited to go there, but that's it. Like it's just taking the time to have a conversation, not feel rushed in conversations, and really connect with people and places. So
Yeah.
uh, I love it, Brad. Keep that going for us so more of us can stay flexible and open to, whatever life brings our way. So thank you.
You know it.
I'm interested in what inspired you to write the book years later. If you can talk a little bit about the book, Long Way Home, what it's about, and what the adventure was about. Was it harder to write the book or do the adventure?
Yeah, for sure. So the book was a long time in the making. I didn't write it until 17 years after I did the adventure. And the adventure was when I rode my bicycle from Honduras to Boulder, Colorado, after having served as a Peace Corps volunteer in Honduras for 2 years. And when I set off on this adventure, I thought to myself, I want to write a book about this. I was really into travel books at that time. Not David Thoreau. Who's the Paul Thoreau? Paul Thoreau has a lot of really cool travel books that I read as a Peace Corps volunteer, and I wanted to be just like him. So I documented this book in like serious detail in all of my journals every single day as I rode home with the mindset that I would someday write a book. And when I got home in 2005, I started to write, and it's just an overwhelming process to like put everything together into a book. I wrote articles about my adventure for the local newspaper here in Boulder, and that was exciting and fun. But the idea of writing a whole book was just, whoa, like way past what I think I was capable of at the time. And then I got into the video stuff and just got distracted for a long, long time. Long story short, during the pandemic, all of us had a lot of free time. I had a lot of free time. And so I got the journals out and started putting the book together. And it took about a year and a half ish to really get the book done. And yeah, it's very hard to write a book, but I'm very thankful that I wrote those journals because there's no way this book would have been as good as it was without those journals, because there are things that I completely forgot about when I went back into those journals, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't even remember that story, but it was there in the journals. So I had it well documented. I also filmed the journey, and so I could go back to a lot of that video footage and recreate on paper what I was experiencing and feeling in the moment. So that really helped as well. And the reason why I wanted to write the book is to put that story out there, because I had been talking about it for so many years, this Honduras to Boulder Odyssey. I was like, I have this book. It's written in my journals already. I just have to put it together. And I'm really proud of it. I'm excited. And that story essentially is about that adventure, but also how that adventure led to a very unconventional life.
Yeah. When you get back, you maybe give yourself the space of uh, not following the script.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I named it The Long Way Home because it really was. As a Peace Corps volunteer, of course, you get a plane ticket to fly home, and most volunteers around the world fly home after their service. But I didn't want to just be home in a matter of 5 hours. That to me, that seemed way too fast. After living in a tiny village for 2 years, to get on an airplane and be home later that day was just like, no, this is like reverse culture shock. I wanted time to think, and I knew that from experience, my best thinking time was on the seat of my bicycle. And I knew I would have thousands of miles and many months of thinking about what I wanted to do with my life. Cause I was 25. I had just graduated college, went to the Peace Corps. It was time to like figure out what I was going to do to make a living and to pursue my passions. And that time on my bike really fortified my beliefs that this is what I want to be. I want to be some sort of a storyteller.
Yeah. You're like a yogi man, like a meditation guru, but the way you do it is run and bike. Like
Yeah.
it's all just processing, giving yourself the space and not having music, being present. It's so cool. I love your channel. I want, I'll add links to YouTube channel, but if you want to share where people can find you on social,
Yeah.
uh, please do share that. And I wanted to ask you what your final thoughts might be on human powered exploration, choosing human powered adventure, whether you're looking for something to do on a weekend or a daily life, or maybe during your travel.
Cool. So first of all, YouTube is where I put all of my heart and my soul. That's really what I care about most. And that's just Duzer TV, or if you just Google my name, everything will pop up. And then I post quite a bit to Instagram. So those are the two that I really care about. As far as human powered travel and movement, I think it is vital right now. We live, like I was saying earlier, we live in a world that's so comfortable and so easy. And I feel like we're becoming disconnected even from our neighbors who might live only 30 feet away from us and we don't even know who they are or what they do. And so I think we need to be on our feet more, on our bikes more, taking public transportation because it connects us more to our communities. You know, because we go to work, we sit in a cubicle, we get in our car, we're listening to podcasts, we come home, we shut the garage door, we go inside, we watch TV, we stream some shows, and it's just like we're constantly being bombarded with just entertainment and information that I think we forget sometimes that we need to go outside and breathe some fresh air and look at the stars and take our shoes off and walk barefoot in the grass and feel actually connected to this great planet that we're on, you know, and then go out and like say hi to your neighbor and try to extend that to further to your community and the world at large. So I'm a big fan of human powered everything. And so I really appreciate what your message is and what you're doing because I think it is vital going forward for our mental health and our physical health.
Yeah. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for sharing that. I hope we can get out for a ride sometime. I'm thinking I would love to invite you to join me for the Black Rock, High Rock area for a bikepacking trip. Maybe we can
Oh
make
yeah.
that happen one day.
I would love that.
That would be super dope. And hopefully the ultra next year at the burn.
Yep.
And
That'll be
maybe
my
another
10th one,
place.
man. I'll be
10th
there.
one. It's a big
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And thanks for all the inspiration through your content, through your channel, and doing everything you're doing. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate your time today, Ryan.
Thank you. This has been the highlight of my day. I appreciate you, man.